Welcome, history enthusiasts, to Explain It Simple. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey through time to explore one of the most powerful and enduring empires the world has ever known, the Ottoman Empire. For over 600 years, this colossal state, also known as the Turkish Empire, controlled vast territories across Europe, Asia, and Africa. But how did it all begin? How did a small, unassuming tribe rise to dominate such a significant portion of the globe? Our story begins around the year 1299 in the dusty plains of Anatolia. The mighty Seljuk Sultanate was crumbling, and the Byzantine Empire, once a Roman colossus, was a shadow of its former self, riddled with internal strife. Into this power vacuum stepped a charismatic Muslim leader from the town of Sout, Osman I. He wasn't born into grandiosity, he was simply a bey, a tribal chieftain. But Osman possessed an extraordinary vision and the tactical genius to exploit the weaknesses of his neighbors. He styled himself as Sultan, leading his dedicated Ghazi warriors on daring raids against the Byzantines. And so, the name of this humble leader, Osman, became the name of an empire, a legacy that would echo for centuries. Osman laid the groundwork, but it was his son, Orhan, who began to truly forge the empire. Orhan understood that consistent power required a disciplined standing army. He revolutionized military organization, moving away from temporary tribal levies. With the advice of his brother Alaeddin and later Kandala Kara Halil, he created something truly revolutionary for Europe, the Janissaries. These elite infantrymen, recruited from Christian families in conquered territories and converted to Islam, were fiercely loyal to the Sultan, making them the most formidable fighting force of their era. Orhan's successor, Murad I, pushed the boundaries even further. He relentlessly expanded into the Balkans, implementing a shrewd policy. Local rulers could maintain their positions if they accepted Ottoman suzerainty and contributed to the army. This era culminated in the pivotal Battle of Kosovo in 1389. Though both sides suffered heavily, the Ottoman victory cemented their dominance in the Balkans, marking a significant step into the heart of Europe. Then came Bayezid I, known as the Thunderbolt for his swift conquests. He crushed a massive Crusader army at the Battle of Nicopolis in 1396, extending Ottoman reach across the Balkans. His ambition, however, clashed with another rising star, the Turco-Mongol warlord Timur. This rivalry exploded at the Battle of Ankara in 1402. Bayezid, overconfident, was caught off guard and famously captured, plunging the nascent empire into chaos. This triggered a devastating decade-long civil war among Bayezid's sons, known as the Ottoman Interregnum, threatening to dismantle everything that had been built. From the ashes of civil war, Mehmed I emerged, painstakingly reuniting the shattered Ottoman lands. His reign was about consolidation, stitching the empire back together after the devastating internal conflict. But the true reignition of Ottoman ambition came with his successor, Murad II. Murad solidified control over Anatolia, continued pushing into Europe, and notably faced off against Christian crusaders once more in the Battle of Varna, 1444, and the Second Battle of Kosovo, 1448, reasserting Ottoman might in the region. Yet, the most defining moment of this era, and perhaps Ottoman history, belongs to Murad II's son, Mehmed II, famously known as the Conqueror. From the moment he ascended the throne, his eyes were set on one monumental goal: Constantinople. For centuries, this jewel of the Byzantine Empire had defied capture. But in 1453, armed with a massive army, naval power, and revolutionary cannons, Mehmed launched a 53-day siege. The world watched as the ancient city finally fell, marking the end of the Byzantine Empire and a new beginning for the Ottomans. The capture of Constantinople, now renamed Istanbul, wasn't just a military victory. It was a symbolic declaration of a new global power. Mehmed immediately began rebuilding and repopulating the city, making it the dazzling new capital of his sprawling empire. His reign was marked by relentless expansion into Europe and the Balkans, and a fascinating, often brutal relationship with figures like Vlad III, Dracula, highlighting the fierce resistance and ultimate Ottoman dominance. The 16th century ushered in the golden age of the Ottoman Empire, largely shaped by two extraordinary sultans. First, Selim the Fair, known as the Grim for his ruthless efficiency. Selim turned the empire's gaze eastward and southward. He decisively defeated the powerful Safavid dynasty in Persia at the Battle of Chaldiran in 1514, securing critical eastern borders. More significantly, he conquered the Mamluk Sultanate in Egypt in 1517, bringing Egypt, Syria, the Levant, and the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, the Hijaz, under Ottoman control. This transformed the Ottoman Empire into the undisputed superpower of the Islamic world and a dominant force in the global economy. Then came Suleiman I, known in the West as the Magnificent, and by his own people as Kanuni, the lawgiver. His 46-year reign, 1520 to 1566, is widely considered the peak of Ottoman power, prestige, and cultural flourishing. Militarily, Suleiman continued his father's conquests, seizing Belgrade in 1521, Rhodes in 1522, and crushing the Hungarians at the Battle of Mohacs in 1526. He even laid siege to Vienna in 1529, though he couldn't capture it. Beyond military might, Suleiman reformed the empire's legal system, creating a unified set of laws that earned him the title, the lawgiver. This era also saw unparalleled achievements in arts, architecture. Think of the legendary architect Mimar Sinan, literature and science. Ottoman naval power reached its zenith, extending influence across the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and even into the Indian Ocean, challenging European powers like Portugal. Suleiman's reign exemplified the Ottoman Empire at its absolute greatest, a vast, well-ordered, and culturally vibrant global power. While Suleiman's era was magnificent, the seeds of future challenges were already being sown. The empire's rapid expansion started slowing, and internal dynamics began to shift. Successors after Suleiman, like Selim II, often lacked the military experience and direct leadership of their predecessors, spending more time in the palace. This led to an increasing reliance on grand viziers and the growing influence of the imperial harem, a significant change in the nature of sultanate rule. The 17th century saw the empire facing increasing pressure. Internally, the once elite Janissaries, who had become a powerful political force, began to lose their military edge. Corruption, inflation, and a burgeoning population strained the empire's resources. Externally, new, powerful rivals emerged in Europe, especially the Habsburgs of Austria and the rising Russian Empire. The Ottomans found themselves engaged in protracted, costly wars on multiple fronts, slowly but surely losing ground and resources. Despite moments of resurgence and attempts at reform by some sultans, the general trend was one of slow but steady relative decline compared to the rapidly modernizing European powers. Treaties became more frequent, often marking the loss of Ottoman territories or influence. The empire that had once been the undisputed conqueror now found itself fighting to maintain its vast holdings against an increasingly assertive Europe. The 18th and 19th centuries saw the Ottoman Empire, once famously called the sick man of Europe, grappling with profound challenges. It desperately tried to modernize its army, administration, and economy, often borrowing Western ideas through various reform movements like the Tanzimat. However, these efforts were too little, too late, and often resisted internally. The final chapter came with World War I. Allying with the Central Powers, the Ottomans found themselves on the losing side. In 1922, the Sultanate was abolished, and in 1923, the Republic of Turkey was born from the ashes of the empire under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. This marked the official end of an era that had lasted over 6 centuries. The legacy of the Ottoman Empire is immense and complex. It shaped the cultures, languages, religions, and geopolitical landscapes of the Middle East, the Balkans, and North Africa. Its architectural marvels still stand, its legal systems influenced future governance, and its history continues to be a subject of intense study and debate. Thank you for joining us on Explain It Simple, where we break down the complex. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into the world's most critical events and fascinating histories.